Wait until the doorway is clear before boarding. Passengers on board needing to use the lift or the mini-high platform should inform the conductor before arriving at their station.
Passengers with mobility impairments can use the mini-high platforms to disembark.
And boarding etiquette is the same. Remember to let people off the train before you board.
No matter how you exit the train, remember to tap off at the platform reader. Forgetting to do so can cost you up to $3 over your regular fare.
Simply get off the train, walk over to the reader, tap off, wait for the beep, and go.
Now it's time to get you to work or home. There are a lot of different options to get you where you're going. Walking, biking, car or van pool, and maybe even a workplace shuttle.
But if you're riding Lynx or Votran to your final destination, you'll want to stop at the ticket vending machine and get a transfer ticket so you can take advantage of the free transfer between Sunrail and the bus.
Both Sunrail and local law enforcement want you to be safe.
We're at our destination, but we're not done with our trip yet. Come back for Part 8 and learn about connectivity options. I'm your host, Mike Wacht. This is Sunrail 101.
Whereas white canes, guide dogs, and mobility aids demonstrate and symbolize the ability to achieve full and independent.
Good morning and welcome to the November 17th workshop of the Orlando City Council. This morning we have a really positive workshop. We're going to have a presentation on our Paramore Kids Zone and After School All-Stars program, two extremely successful programs that focus on all the way from children to young adults in our community that have had very positive outcomes, everything from reducing juvenile crime, increasing graduation rates, preventing childhood obesity and teenage pregnancies. So we're getting national accolades on both programs, and Lisa Early, our Director of Family Parks and Rec, is here to introduce this morning's workshop.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Commissioners, for this opportunity to speak to you today about our city children's programs. And before I get started, I just wanted to frame this and turn the clock all the way back to 2003, when Mayor Dyer was first elected. And at that time, I was working for a local children's services nonprofit organization here in Orlando. And we had just finished an in-depth study of conditions facing children in our community. We looked at what were the good things going on in our community, and what were the things that we could do to make things even better for kids in terms of moving the needle on child abuse and neglect rates, juvenile crime, teen pregnancies, and academic performance of kids. And there were a couple of things that stand out to me when I go back to then. The first thing was that when we looked at all the things that put kids at risk for ending up in these systems, whether it's the juvenile justice system or failing out of school or child abuse and neglect, the biggest risk factor, not only in our community but anywhere in our country, was economic insecurity. It was poverty. It was families really struggling with just meeting basic needs. And when we looked in our community at what kind of supports we have for families that face difficult conditions like this, we found that while we do have some great programs and resources, there are a lot of gaps and areas where we could do better. And then the other part of it that really stood out from that study was that our #1 recommendation was that we needed political will, that we needed our community leaders to come together and really understand what was holding our kids back, what were the root causes of things like crime and school failure and child abuse and neglect, what were the root causes, and begin to address them in a systematic way. So we presented that study to Mayor Dyer. He must have been in office less than 2 months. I remember in the cabinet room we presented that. And after that he said, I want you to be the city's first director of children and education. And he really wanted to create this position because he wanted to do something for kids in this community. And you know, the interesting thing is I was preparing this presentation, I realized that today, November 17th, is actually my 11-year anniversary with the City of Orlando.
Congratulations,
yeah.
Lisa.
So, yes. So I'm going to fast forward now 11 years, and I'm going to present what we have done as a city in the past 11 years as it relates to children. So I'm going to move you to the PowerPoint. And what you see here is, I'm not going to talk about all the things that the City of Orlando does for children. I'm just going to talk about my department, Families, Parks, and Recreation. And this is appropriate because this is the department in the city that does the most work, where most of the city investments are made as it relates to children. But I'm not going to go outside of this. I'm going to stay in this box, and I'm going to focus on our 3 core children's programs. That includes After School All-Stars, Paramore Kids Zone, and the Recreation Division's children's programs. So when you look across the board at all the children that we serve in my department, last year we served just shy of 11,000 children, and the largest group of kids that we served were actually served by the Recreation Division, mostly at our community centers, followed by After School All-Stars, and then followed by Paramore Kids Zone. And you can see the distribution of ages of children served, and you'll see the bulk of the kids we serve are in elementary or middle school. But we do serve some children from cradle to career, particularly Paramore Kids Zone. So you see some kids in there that are under the age of 5, and then others that are high school age or beyond. And then this is by district. So what you see is that we're serving kids across the entire city of Orlando. And there's a little bump up in District 5. That's largely because in Commissioner Hill's district, we operate Paramore Kids Zone, and also we have a relatively large number of community centers located in District 5. And the next biggest bump is District 2, and in Commissioner Ortiz's district, our 2 community centers, Englewood and Dover Shores, have the largest enrollment of all of our community centers, and then the After School All-Stars program operates at Jackson Middle School there, and it is the largest size After School All-Stars program across all of the middle schools in the city, so that's why you see that bump. Okay, so I alluded to the issue of family economic insecurity and poverty. 91% of those 11,000 children that we serve in my department are low income. So this is a theme that's going to resonate throughout this presentation. Approximately 23% of the children that we serve are homeless. Some of them live in homeless shelters, but some of them live in weekly motels, some of them live with relatives. They move from home to home to home because they don't have a home of their own. So low-income children, that's the bulk of the population that we serve. They have greater hurdles to overcome than kids whose families are of economic means. So I'm going to just narrow down and talk about education and the impact of a family's income level on educational outcomes of their children. So for example, research shows that low-income kids perform less well on most measures of academic success: test scores, grades, high school completion rates, college enrollment and completion rates. So I'm giving you just a few examples of why. You know, why does that happen? So typically in low-income families, parents have not as high a level of education. That sort of mixes with being low income. If you don't have a high level of education, you don't earn a high salary in a job, so you're of a lower income level. But what happens for the kids is that their parents, because they were not successful in school themselves, are in a very difficult position to be able to help their kids be successful in school. In addition, kids who are low income are exposed to fewer of the types of enrichments that we know help kids be successful in school. They're not able to travel around the country, around the state. They don't have that exposure to all of these opportunities. They don't enroll in science camps and music lessons because their families can't afford it. And all of those kinds of enrichments help kids do better in school. They also don't have the means in their own household to pay for basic things that help them be successful in school, like computers and internet and books and tutoring if they need help in certain subjects. And then finally, the weight of housing instability, food insecurity, not having enough money for basic needs weighs families and their children down. So if you're a parent and you're worried about where are we going to sleep tonight, what are we going to eat, there are no clothes to send you to school, then your main focus is like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the bottom of the pyramid. My main priority is meeting our basic needs. Education, healthcare, those other things become a luxury that we don't have time or energy or the bandwidth to afford to focus on, okay? So knowing that, what role does the city play in this? And I don't want to dive into this deeply. But there's what is known as the ecological model of child development. What impacts children? So you see the child in the center there, and then you see the next concentric circle around the child is the family. So all of these things that I talked about that happen inside families affect the chances that children in those families have. So worry about homelessness, lacking money for basic needs, low education level of parents, those kinds of things impact the children inside there. But I do want to focus on the next level, which is the community, that green concentric circle. So the question really is, what in our community, if you think of that green oval as the city of Orlando, what do we have in the city that helps to support families so that they can raise their children to be successful in our society? And so there are things that we can do from both a programmatic standpoint and a public policy standpoint to help positively impact children and support families to be successful with kids. So for instance, if families are working in low-wage jobs, do we have enough affordable housing in our community so they can afford to live in a stable household? Do we have enough money in childcare subsidies so they can go to work because they know that their children will be safe and supervised in childcare while they're away at work? Do we have those general supports in our broader community? And this is the area that we as a city can impact to help improve outcomes for children. Okay, so now I'm going to narrow down on how we as a city focus, the areas that we focus on in my department to help impact child well-being in the city of Orlando. I'm going to break it into 4 areas. Number 1 is going to be what do we do to mitigate family economic hardship? Number 2, what do we do to improve academic performance of children? Number 3, what do we do to prevent juvenile crime? And then finally, what do we do to encourage health and wellness? And I've left health and wellness to the end because if we don't get to it today, I think it could be a conversation, another conversation for another day. I think there's a lot of information in here that you might be interested in exploring. So we may not get to health and wellness, but we do a lot of cool stuff there as well. Okay, so let's talk about family economic hardship. So, this is one thing I'm probably, if I look back over those 11 years, that I'd have to say that I'm proudest of. And that is that, you know, we went through some very tough times as a city, right? We had to cut back on staff, on programs. Even my department had to come forward and raise rates for after-school programs and renting our facilities. So we had to tighten our belts really tightly. Within all of those decisions, there was an area that we held sacred in my department, and that was our low-income children. Not one of the cuts that we made reduced a single kid. So we didn't reduce capacity at the Englewood Community Center, at Citrus Square, at Reeves Terrace, at Callahan. At none of our community centers did we reduce by 1 child our capacity to serve children. And we didn't raise by 1 cent our rates. So still today, despite this economic hardship, low-income kids attend our after-school programs and summer camps completely free of charge. That's true for the Recreation Division. It's true for After-School All-Stars. It's true for all of our Paramore Kids Zone programs. So, and then talk about that green concentric circle. This is what a community can do if it cares about kids. It makes a public policy decision about what is sacred and how it's going to protect its children. Okay, so let's talk about kids under the age of 5, right? So I talked a little bit about parents are working at low wages. How are they going to be able to sustain a job if they can't afford childcare, right? And the wages they're making, it's not enough to pay for basic needs, much less the cost of putting your 2-year-old, your 3-year-old, your 4-year-old in childcare all day long, all year long, so you can go to work. I think one of the great things that we do as a city is we make investments in childcare subsidies. So every year when you vote on the city budget, you'll see in the list of community service organizations that you fund, you'll see community coordinated care for children. That money goes to pay for childcare subsidies for low-income children. That's an area that this city has stuck with and consistently funded. And then in Paramore, as part of Paramore Kids Zone, we actually established a childcare subsidy fund just for Paramore. And I want to show you the impact that something like that has. So this graph shows you in 2005, before we started Paramore Kids Zone, the number of Paramore children under the age of 5 who were enrolled in childcare centers. And you can see in 2014 the number that are enrolled now, right? That's a 215% increase. This means more families can afford to go to work. It means they can go back to school to get credentialing so they can earn higher salaries. Okay, so here's another thing that we are really proud of as a department, and that is that we feed hungry kids. You know, hunger is a big issue among low-income families and among the population that we serve. And so, and this preceded my time, it preceded probably everybody's time who's on city council, that we have historically had a summer feeding program across all of our city after-school programs for a long, long time. And every day we feed about 4,000 children at 16 city recreation centers and 7 after-school all-star sites across the city. But what is new is that last year we became the first site in the entire state of Florida to expand our summer feeding program to a year-round program. So today, all children are fed suppers every day after school at all of our sites. That's After School All-Stars, that's all our city recreation centers, and it's several sites in Paramore who are partners with Paramore Kids Zone. Last fiscal year, because of these programs, we served almost 200,000 meals to children. We also provided free summer camps to over 1,600 homeless children this summer. Okay, so another way to impact economic insecurity is to put money in people's pockets, right? And we are very focused on youth. How do we get youth jobs so that they have money? So on a broader scale, when you look across FPR, we are a very large employer of youth. When you think about summer coming along, the summer camp counselors that we hire, the lifeguards we hire, these are all youth. So we're employing every summer hundreds and hundreds of youth. But we have a particular focus also on employing our city's low-income youth. So to give you some examples of what we do, this summer for the first time we entered into a partnership with the Corporation for National and Community Service as part of their VISTA Summer Associates program. And they covered the full cost of us employing 35 low-income youth who were deployed to sites all around the city to work this summer. And at the end of the summer, the corporation actually gave each one of those summer associates a bonus of over $1,100 to go towards their post-secondary education. And we intend to do that every summer from here on. It was a fabulous program. We also have a very intensive targeted youth employment program in Paramore as part of Paramore Kids Zone. Our goal this year is to employ 80 youth. We get funding from Heart of Florida United Way and the state of Florida to pay their salaries. But this past fiscal year, we employed 51 Paramore youth. They're working at sites all over the Paramore community. And this is new too, with funding from Heart of Florida United Way and CNL Bank. We are now starting individual development accounts for our Paramore Kids Zone youth employees. So what happens is the kids take 10% of their weekly paycheck, it goes into a savings account. It is matched 1-to-1 from United Way, and then 1-to-1 again from CNL Bank. So for every $1 they put in, it turns into $3. And those funds are designated specifically to go to that youth's post-secondary education, whether it's to pay tuition, room and board, books, whatever it costs for that kid to be able to go to college and persist until graduation. We just started those. We have our first group of about 10 youth signed up. Okay, so let's talk about academics. What do we do to improve kids' academic performance? The first thing I'm going to talk about is summer learning loss. So research shows that low-income children typically lose more than 2 months of reading achievement over the summer. And this goes back to what I said earlier about families not being able to pay for these enrichment camps or travel or having lots of books at home, or if their kids are struggling in school, getting them tutoring over the summer. So when families can't do that, the families who can do that are helping their kids move forward, and the families who can't, the kids are actually, because they're not in school, they're losing ground. And what research shows is that when that pattern continues through elementary school, the low-income kids fall more than 2.5 years behind their more affluent peers by the end of 5th grade, okay? So we've had a really robust partnership with Orange County Public Schools. This was actually started by Superintendent Barbara Jenkins, who was very, very focused on preventing summer learning loss. So starting in 2012, Orange County Public Schools began deploying teachers to our recreation centers throughout the summer to prevent summer learning loss, basically doing an intensive reading program every single day at our sites with our kids, fully funded by Orange County Public Schools. So just the summer of 2014 alone, it was operating at 8 city recreation centers. We had 1,277 children who participated. Combined, they read almost 83,000 minutes worth of reading, almost 19,000 books this summer alone. And the school district also measures their learning over that period of time, and they found that 63% of the participating kids increased their reading scores with an average 64-point increase. Okay, so this is another way that we impact educational performance. This is Paramore Kids Zone's student advocate model. This is really, I would call the helicopter mom model, right? So you have staff whose only goal is to have this group of kids, whether it's 30 or 40 kids, that they're responsible for. They're responsible for knowing how this kid is doing in school. Are they suffering in certain classes? Do they need tutoring? Giving them individual and small group tutoring, or hooking them up to tutoring programs and covering the cost of it. And then kids who are doing really well, let's get them into magnet programs. Let's make sure they're filling out their college applications. So like you would do as a parent, our staff are doing for a group of kids in Paramore to keep them on track towards high school graduation, get them into post-secondary, and get them credentialed at the end of the post-secondary pipeline. This is some of the data on it. The blue bars are 2013, the red bars are 2014, right? So the 2 bars on the left are, again, we're focusing on reading. This is really important to what we do. So what you see is the increase in kids who had a student advocate, a helicopter mom, the increase in the percentage of them passing their FCAT reading test, which is a pretty remarkable one year over year. And then on the right side, those 2 bars are all Paramore children, the increase in the percentage who are passing FCAT reading. And let me just say, on the right side, we do a lot of programs for all children in Paramore. Not all of them have a student advocate, but they have access to computer labs. They have volunteers who come and help them after school. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the neighborhood that helps to move the needle for all kids, but you can see that the student advocate model is moving it even faster. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about After School All-Stars, right? So After School All-Stars uses a national model, 21st Century Community Learning Centers. And through this program, they have certified teachers at all of their 8 middle school sites year-round, tutoring kids every day after school and throughout the summer. That's all 2,500 of their kids who are getting this type of academic support every day. Here's the impact. So the blue bars are kids who are enrolled in After School All-Stars. The red bars are kids from the same schools who are not enrolled in After School All-Stars. And you can see how the After School All-Stars kids are beating the other kids on measures of academic performance. And we're very proud that this past school year, 100% of our After School All-Stars 8th graders were promoted to 9th grade. Okay, so now here's another program. This is our AmeriCorps program. We have our AmeriCorps members here today. This is our second year, our second group of AmeriCorps members. Last year, we had 30 AmeriCorps members. They are volunteers who receive a stipend, and we deploy them to 6 schools during the daytime and 10 city recreation centers and after-school all-star sites after school hours. They're there year-round. And those 30 members last year worked with 814 kids who attend those schools and those recreation centers. And here are some of the results from last year. So for the 814 kids who got support from an AmeriCorps member last year, 79% improved their math and reading performance, 86% had fewer absences and met district attendance standards, and 77% had fewer suspensions and expulsions than the year before. Okay, I also talked earlier about enrichment experiences, and this is where our department is really a platform for all these kinds of enrichment experiences. You saw some of that the other day when Tyler presented about the rocketry program that After School All-Stars did at Carver Middle School last year. We have programs like this embedded in all of our middle school sites, all of our city recreation centers, all of our After School All-Stars programs. We're offering theater arts programs, science competitions, dance programs, book clubs, piano programs, community service projects, camping excursions, youth summits, all of this to really give kids, this 90% of our kids who are low income, exposure to these kinds of enrichments and educational experience that they would not otherwise have. Last year we had almost 2,200 kids participate in these programs. And then our Paramore Kids Zone College Access Program. For the past 3 years, we have operated a very robust college access program. We take kids on college tours. We help them with their college applications, financial assistance applications. We give them scholarships, care packages, and more and more and more. Last year, we had 168 youth participating in the PKZ College Access Program. And we were trying, last night to come up with a list of all the kids we know from Paramore who have been to college through this program, who are in college now, and we came up with at least 52, but I know that there are more out there. But what to me is most remarkable about this, because I've been in the neighborhood with kids through this whole process, and in the early days, when you look at data for Paramore, you'll see that about half of the adults in the Paramore Heritage neighborhood don't have not only a college degree, they don't even have a high school diploma, about half of the adults over the age of 25. So for kids to even graduate from high school, it was a big deal, and nobody was going to post-secondary. I mean, unless you got lucky and got a sports scholarship, you didn't have any way to find that path in. You had no support. And all that has changed. If you go and sit and talk with the kids now in the neighborhood, they're all going to college. They all know they're going to college. All their friends are going to college. So this is it's not rocket science to do this. It can be done. Okay, so finally, preventing juvenile crime. Okay, so what keeps kids from committing crime, right? So I hear one of my kids laughing in the back here. So first, they need caring adults. They need somebody who cares about them, who's there for them, who is there to guide them. You think a little bit about, what's that movie? Lord of the Flies, right? So you have all these kids on this desert island, and there's no adults there, and they start beating each other up, and they smush Piggy's glasses, and they finally push him off a cliff or whatever, because youth are not mature enough. I mean, this is normal in their development that they do crazy, stupid, reckless things, and that's where we as adults have to be there to help guide them and keep them on the right track, right? And so they need adults to guide them. They need jobs and educational credentials. And what I wrote here is so they can earn a legal wage, right? So imagine if you're a teenager or a young adult and you have no money, you have no educational credentials at all, you didn't graduate high school, you have no way into the workforce, and you need food, you need a place to live, you may have a baby, they need diapers, right? So this is where, in desperation, people sometimes say, well, I'm going to do illegal stuff in order to get money because I need food, right? So giving kids jobs and educational credentials gives them the path into our formal workforce and keeps them away from doing the kinds of things that end them up in jail, okay? So they also need interesting things to do when school is out, because with older youth, you can't just have an after-school program and mommy's going to enroll them and they come every day. It's got to be really cool stuff. It's got to be stuff that everybody else in the neighborhood says this is the stuff we want to do. So you have to have interesting stuff. And then you have to have the belief that their community is invested in them. You know, kids, if they're being pushed out of our institutions, they get resentful. Society has no stake in them. Why should they have a stake in society, right? So if they've been pushed out of school because they don't make the grade, if they're pushed out of our community centers because we have no programs for older youth, if they're pushed out of the job market, or if they walk down the streets and people are scared of them and start calling the police, and then they get asked questions about what are you doing here and who are you, they feel like society, that they're stigmatized, that society is not invested in them. And if society isn't invested in them, why should they be invested? So to prevent juvenile crime, we need to be invested in our kids. Decades of research has shown that after-school programs are a powerful antidote to youth crime. They provide a safe haven, an alternative to gangs and street life, opportunities to develop new skills and interact positively with peers and adult role models, and they help kids believe that their community is invested in them. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit, right? So we operate these after-school programs all over the city. And we are very focused also on older youth. So any day, any given day around the city, when you look at all of our city recreation centers, our after-school all-star sites, and our Paramore Kids Zone partner sites, we have 22 sites around the city that are serving middle school, high school, and post-secondary age students. Last year, we had about 5,000 of this group of youth participating in our programs every day. Okay, so impact on juvenile crime, right? So let's talk about Paramore Kids Zone, right? So about half of the kids that PKZ serves are older youth, middle school, high school, post-secondary aged kids, right? So in 2006, before we started the program, juvenile arrests in Paramore accounted for 22% of all juvenile arrests around the city of Orlando. By last year, juvenile arrests in Paramore had gone down to only 14% of all arrests in the city of Orlando. And according to our evaluators, the Florida Healthcare Coalition, in 2006, there were 613 Paramore juvenile arrests, and in 2013, there were only 226 Paramore juvenile arrests. While the number of arrests citywide improved over time due to various important interventions, the results experienced in Paramore were significantly greater, right? And then this comes from the Florida Department of Children and Families. So we asked them to drill down to see if there's been a reduction in family violence in Paramore since we started PKZ. They can't actually drill down to just the neighborhood. They can only go down to the zip code level. So they took zip code 32805, and they found that the number of reports of family violence has drastically reduced since PKZ started in 2005. 2005, there were 88 verified reports of family violence. By 2013, only 48. Right? Okay, so now, in 2007, the first year that we were implementing Paramore Kids Zone, we did a neighborhood survey. We randomly selected 100 households in the neighborhood that were raising children, and we asked them a series of questions about their children. And then we went back out to the neighborhood, randomly picked another 100 families in 2012, and we asked them the same questions, because we wanted to see if, over 5 years, parents had a different perception. Well, one of the questions we asked them was, is Paramore a safe place to raise children? Right? So in 2007, only 44% of parents said it was a safe place to raise children. And when we went back out in 2012, that number had increased to 63%. So it's not where we want to be yet, but you can see positive progress. Okay, and now I'm going to pivot to After School All-Stars. Over the past 4 years that this program has been implemented, there have been 0 arrests of After School All-Stars youth. Not one youth, and they're serving 2,500 a year, has been arrested among that group of kids who do reckless and crazy things, right? And the juvenile crime rate at the middle schools where After School All-Stars operates has declined by 39%, which is remarkable. Okay, so now before I go into how much does all this cost, I'm going to ask a couple of people to speak. So the first person, I kind of wanted somebody to speak on behalf of our staff, because I can't say enough about the commitment, dedication, and passion of the staff of the Families, Parks, and Recreation Department when it comes to doing this work. You see many of them here today. Our leaders are sitting right here. We have Brenda, who oversees Paramore Kids Zone, Rodney, who oversees the Recreation Division, and Tyler, who oversees After School All-Stars. These are the most committed and skilled people I know. So in thinking about who could represent the staff to speak about why we do this work, we're picking somebody who's only been on staff for like 2 months. So why did we pick him, this young man named Christian Empoy? Because he's one of our AmeriCorps members. And I think this speaks to not just the idealism and passion of why people do this work, but the fact that we as a department are committed to passing the torch to the next generation, to training the next generation of leaders to take on. So I'm going to ask Christian to come up and speak to you. Christian.
Good morning. Before I begin, I'd just like to thank the City of Orlando for providing me with this opportunity to really make a positive impact in the life of the kids. With that, my name is Christian, and I proudly serve in the City of Orlando's AmeriCorps program at Carver Middle School. I serve because I was just like the kids that I work with. If it was not for others helping me, I wouldn't be here today. You see, I was born in the Democratic Republic of Congo, a place where there were no recreation programs, no tutors, no mentors. It was a very dangerous place with little opportunity and hope for kids. I was one of the lucky few ones who got the opportunity to move to the United States with my siblings when I was 10. I was fortunate enough to meet a teacher, a wonderful individual. Her name was Miss Brown. She spent countless hours with me, teaching me English and mentoring me through both middle school and high school. I see much of myself in the students. I see them struggle to learn every day. Like me, these students find it difficult to succeed due to language and learning barriers. They struggle with social pressures and expectations and hide their fears and emotions from the rest of the world. I hope to be like Ms. Brown, who not only helped to open my mind, but provided a safe haven for me to be myself and embrace who I was and who I could be one day. Because of her genuine interest, love, and compassion for me, displayed by both Ms. Brown and others in my life, I have gathered the courage and confidence to push myself to the limit when times are tough. Surely my successes and all that I am is a product of grace and compassion. Each of the members here today has a uniquely powerful reason why they chose to serve. Individually, we have many diverse talents and skills. Together, we form an amazing group that can cope with the multitude of challenges that come from the difficult population we serve. We understand that what we do is truly bigger than us, and we genuinely care for the students we work with. More importantly, I truly believe that, like Ms. Brown, we are providing hope and the belief that these kids can succeed at anything in life. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Christian. And now I'm going to introduce a young lady that I think I probably met her back in 2005. At the time, I think she was in middle school, maybe just starting high school, from Paramore. And her story is, it's not unlike the story of many of the youth that we work with. There's nothing, it's a powerful story, but it's not that uncommon. And I think the reason I invited Sasha Mills here to speak is because she has a voice. She really has a voice, and she has the power to express what this experience is for kids. So Sasha, please come up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's still morning, yes. Hi, my name is Sasha. And I guess my whole purpose in standing here in front of you guys is just to say how important and how much of an impact the different programs that we have within the Paramore Kids community, especially the Paramore Kids Zone. I'm just going to give a little bit of my background just to give you a clear vision of how Paramore has impacted, Paramore Kids Zone has impacted my life. First of all, I grew up in a household with a single parent with 6 kids. as far as I can remember, my mom has always sold drugs. I've always been around drugs. I've always been around violence. I've always, I guess, like growing up, like it's always been a natural thing for me. It's always been natural to see people dying. It's always been natural to see people getting killed. One thing in particular that I will never forget, I was in 6th grade, and on New Year's and 4th of July, where I grew up at, they like to shoot their guns on, just drug dealers like to shoot their guns in the air. And I remember this guy was shooting his gun, and I was at a friend's house in a drive-through, and I guess like his gun jammed, and he went to turn around and shoot up in the air and actually shot the guy in his head, and you could see straight through his head. And I didn't realize at the time how significant it damaged me. And so that's something that has always been natural for me to see people getting killed. Like, it just became a natural thing. And I just thought, like, this is all I'm gonna ever see. This is all I'm gonna ever live in. And so at that point, when I was in middle school, I kind of made a decision for myself that I need to get myself involved in different programs. And I got myself into a lot of different programs. One in particular was Paramore Kids Zone. And I've been a part of Paramore Kids Zone since 2006. And one thing that I will say is that Paramore Kids Zone is not just a program. To me, it's my family. Ms. Lisa is my family. Ms. Brenda is my family. The staff, the staff in the back, Ms. Bridget, all the staff of Paramore Kids Zone, their family to me. It's more than just a program. And some things that they've kind of helped me along the way. One in particular is I've always struggled with, I have a learning disability, and I never knew how to deal with it. And when I got to college, they helped me go through as far as the process of how I would get accommodations in school. And without Paramore Kids Zone, I would never knew like what to do. And the fact that I had people along my side, Miss Natasha, she helped me go through this, and as far as like how to figure out like how do I go about this, because I had no clue. And also just ACT. I remember being in the 11th grade. I took the ACT 2 times. I'm not going to tell you the score, but they weren't good. And right away, I was like, I have to get this ACT score up. And so I ended up going and tutoring. And when I tell you, like, I've never been dedicated, well, as far as dragging boat, I've never been so dedicated to just like, I was like, no, this, like, I have to get a high score, like, this is it. And so every day after high school, I went straight to Paramore Kids Zone, studied hard, worked my behind off, and actually got a 19 on it, which is perfect for me because I had a 13. And so I guess like my whole purpose in being here is, and telling you about my story is, Paramore Kids Zone has made a difference. It is making a difference. It's a big part of my life. It's a big part of why I'm here today and why I'm standing in front of you guys. And so I just want to thank you. And thank you for supporting Paramore Kids Zone, and I appreciate it.
All right, you want to hear about how much all this costs, or you're not interested?
Priceless, Lisa.
There we go. How am I doing on time, by the way?
You're okay.
Okay, and this is really fast. So this is it, funding for city children's programs. So you see the bottom line, $9.3 million. See that $6.6 million at the top? So most of that is actually running our community centers during after school, paying for those seasonal staff who are supervising those 7,000 kids every day after school and throughout the summer. And that's not new money. So that's money that was already built into the city budget before I came on board, I mean years ago. So we added a little bit to enhance the services, serve more older youth, add more enrichment experiences, add the educational support programs into that. But That's the city general revenues. And then that $2.7 million is just 1 year of grants and fundraising that we leverage towards our children's programs. And I'm going to break them down for you. So this next chart shows you where that $2.7 million comes from. The biggest source is the Florida Department of Education that funds the After School All-Stars 21st Century Community Learning Centers program. And Paramore Kids Zone this year got $500,000 from there for their programs. USDA Florida Department of Health that funds our after-school feeding program. United Way is a big investor. Our local United Way is our partner in crime, or in crime prevention in this case. They have really stepped up to support all our programs. They fund Paramore Kids Zone's Youth Employment Program, Academic Program, and After School All-Stars Program at Carver Middle School. So then you see some other corporate donors for Fifth Third Bank, Siemens, Justin Queso Foundation, Bank of America, Universal, Orlando City Soccer, and then we hold fundraisers. So you see our golf tournaments, which I know many of the commissioners have supported. We really appreciate that. Mayor Dyer's City Kids, Buddy's Benefit for Children. We hold lots of fundraisers, and those funds go to support our children's programs. And then there's a lot of money you don't see. This is extra budgetary, so it's not part of that $9.3 million. These are things that come to us in kind in some fashion or another. So for instance, when I talked about the 35 youth summer associates that we employed this summer, we actually didn't get cash. The Corporation for National and Community Service paid them directly and gave them their college scholarship money directly, so you don't see it on our, in our budget. Funds leveraged by partners. So for instance, I talked about the teachers who work in our summer camps. That's paid by Orange County Public Schools. We never see that money, so you don't see it on our bottom line. So that is the end, and I'm happy to take questions. I do have a few slides on health and wellness if you want to see them, but I'm happy to take questions.
I think we can save that for another workshop where we can fully explore that. Lisa, thank you for that wonderful presentation. All of the staff, thank you for the work that you do every day. And it is nice when I know we've worked hard with UCF to quantify the results, to have measurable results in terms of reducing juvenile crime and increasing FCAT scores, and it's pretty remarkable, really, the advances that we have made. Yes. But with the numbers, it eventually just comes down to individuals and the lives that have been impacted, and to be able to hear from somebody that has been in the Paramore Kids Zone from virtually the beginning and the impact that it's had on her life is extra special. I know there's hundreds of stories, not exactly like that, but similar to that. Yes. So Lisa, thank you for bringing everybody here today and reporting in. I don't know what order you guys buzzed in, so I'm just going to go in numeric order. Commissioner Stewart.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And Lisa, thank you. One thing, I've got a couple of quick questions, but one is, can you have the individual staff stand? I think that you've got the AmeriCorps, and you got After School All Stars, and you got the recreation staff.
Yes,
can
so
we
let's
have them
start
stand individually
with
so we can get a chance to see.
Let's start with our AmeriCorps members. AmeriCorps members, please stand.
All right.
Okay, and now our Recreation Division staff, please stand. Okay, and now our Paramore Kids Zone staff, please stand. Okay, and I would be remiss in knowing that you like data as much as I do. The person who oversees our evaluation and gets those numbers for us is here, Dr. Karen Van Colo. Please stand. Okay, thank you.
You didn't hit Tyler.
Oh, Tyler Chandler, Executive Director of After School All Stars, and I have to say, my other partner in crime prevention. Amazing person. Please stand. Anybody else from After School All Stars? He brought down the AmeriCorps students, and he has taken the gauntlet in our department for running that program, so appreciate that too.
Thank you very much. I want to make sure that we get a chance for the sake of this group and the sake of those that are here, to thank you personally for what you do. It has been, I've got a chance to talk individually with all. I had a lot of fun with the AmeriCorps group a couple of weeks ago. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you investing your lives into our children. It just means so much to us. And where'd Sasha go? Sasha, I can't see you. Thank you, Sasha, for your comments. The mayor is correct. Your comments are familiar, but they also are unique. And so in that, I want to thank you for what you have done, and thank you for the example you've made for those that come behind you. So thank you very much for that. The numbers, they're incredible and wonderful, and also give us a measurement of where we can continue to go. And I'm deeply grateful for that. I want to get a copy of that when you get a chance, so we can get a chance to see it and keep some of those figures there. You have about 1,100 kids in the Paramore Kids Zone. How many families does that represent? I was asking that question earlier to somebody else, because it's, is it 400 or 500 families? I'm looking how many households, I guess.
You know, I don't have a quick answer, Commissioner. I mean, we can look into that, but we count by kids. That's how our data system is structured. So I don't have a quick answer. I don't know if anybody wants to take a stab at that.
Well, just let me know. I'm curious. We're looking at when we see the Paramore report coming out, we're looking at households as well as children affected, and I'd like to kind of get a feel for that, because I think there's an incredible amount of impact you guys are having over there, and that's a big deal. Crime reduction. I think that when you look at After School All-Stars and getting kids off the streets and having activity, two things occur. The first is that they aren't on the streets to commit crime, which is important. And the second is they learn a life of achievement. And so they don't want to go back to be on the streets. And that has a wonderful impact on our community, and I appreciate what you all have done to accomplish that task. I just want to say thank you. This is we don't know what the long-term investment is when the city makes this kind of investment into 11,000 children each year. And so because of that, our community is safer, our entire city is safer. And we're having some really neat things happen. Kids now in the Paramore area, they wake up thinking they're going to go to college. That's a dream that I'm not sure was there 5 years ago, and now it's here today. So that's because of what all of y'all do. And I want to how much I appreciate that. It means a lot to me personally, and I get a chance to kind of be your partner in crime in a couple of other different areas. But it means a lot to the city. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sheehan.
Thank you, Mayor Dyer. And I'd just like to say something to Christian. Thank you for reminding us all about the American dream, because we take it for granted and we forget about it, and you lived it. And you are living it. So thank you for reminding us all of how fortunate we are, because we really are. And thank you for sharing your story. And Sasha, I will always forget, one day I was out doing the dragon boats, and this young woman was paddling so hard she actually passed out. And you know what? You were getting it, girl. And that made me get out and paddle extra harder. So you've always been an inspiration to me. So, and thank you for sharing your story, because I know that's not easy, because people might judge you when you come from poverty. My folks had a hard time, they struggled. My daddy had a drinking problem, and to see kids like you succeed is the bomb. So thank you for what you do. And I also want to say that, we've had a lot of success with the kids at Langford, Reese Terrace. Thank you for the support there. I'm passionate about this, and I also want to say that we need Wi-Fi and computers in these community centers. That's made a tremendous difference to my kids. Because in Tyler, I want to thank you for After School All-Stars, because that's given kids the opportunity to have access to education and peace programs. And a lot of people wrote off Howard Middle School. About 5 years ago, they wanted to close Howard Middle School. And now all people are fighting to get into Howard Middle School because of the magnet program, because of the investment that the city has put into Howard Middle School. So again, the answer isn't to close these inner city schools, it's to put the programs in to bring everybody back. And now all the white flight that happened, I'm just going to say it, all people that left Howard saying it was a very undesirable school, and they're doing it to Fern Creek now too. Now we're finding that these parents want to get back in the school because they want these programs, they want these magnet programs, they want these opportunities, and it transcends economic opportunity. It transcends that because there are wonderful programs and because of the investment that the city has made. And Lisa, thank you for all that you've done. And Tyler, thank you for all you've done for my kids. From the bottom of my heart, I have seen the difference that it makes in their lives. I'm committed to them. I live their life, and I'm here. I'm sitting here because somebody reached back and helped me. And I just want to say thank you for everything that we do. And this investment's a no-brainer for me. You know, $6.6 million in terms of the money that we spend on the city and these programs. This is our social freight, and this is what we should be doing, and this is the right thing. So thank you for your presentation today.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to thank the city for the investment that you have made in the children of Paramore in District 5 and throughout the city. Also, I'd like to thank Lisa Early and her staff for all that they've done. When I was first sworn in, her staff mayor came to my office and embraced me and started taking me around my district to show me the different programs that was already being done throughout the city. Because of course I came in with a 100-day plan, and it mostly was youth and senior involvement. So I found out that I didn't need to create the wheel, that there was already a fine-tuned machine running, and that was called PKZ, and the Florida, not Florida, but the Parks and Recs Department. And also to the staff that I personally know, as Sasha stated, it's a family, especially over at PKZ, and they've adopted me as part of their family. I'm often over there. You invite me to everything, and as Commissioner Sheehan said, I grew up in those very same conditions, so I feel as if it's my duty to go back and touch each one of those kids throughout my district so that they can see what their hard work and efforts, the end result. So with that being said, I'm looking forward to hopefully with the support of the commission and the mayor, me and Lisa have been talking about taking a pilot program of PKZ over to Mercy Drive, where there's another demographics, just like the Paramore, which you've improved tremendously. So thank you all for the support that you've shown our low-income and disadvantaged children.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Tony Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Lisa, for such a great presentation. I'm ecstatic about the results and the statistics on Paramore. And I got to say thank you, Tyler, because you're beyond understanding in terms of the great things you have done for the After School All Stars program. I'm a huge fan of it, and any monies going to that program, they're well invested, and the PKZ too. And I'm so ecstatic about the PKZ that I'm going to complain. Because such a great program should not be only be done in the Paramore area. As you know, we have similar situations in the Southeast. We have kids, African American, Hispanic, and Caucasian kids that are homeless, that are going through a very similar situation. And I believe it's time for us to expand this program, take it to the next level. I can say enough about what you guys are doing. You guys are doing an awesome job. And we have sat down and talked about this before. But I think it's time for us to put our money where our mouth is, right? And I'm all about investing the money. I think it's a well-invested money. And I believe we need to look for even more in order to expand the program and take it to the next level. Mr. Christian, you said something that it really got to me when you talk about mentors. I'm a big believer in mentorship. And we have a program that I believe it was developed by the President of the United States, my brother's keeper, something?
Yes, my brother's keeper. Yes.
Okay. I love the mentorship aspect of helping our kids, but I also believe we need to expand this to cover our Hispanic kids and our Caucasian kids. We should be all-inclusive in every aspect of what we do in this city. This is the most beautiful city in the world. As I always call it, we are the epicenter of the world. Let's show the world how we do business around here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Ortiz. Lisa, pretty extraordinary. I know you already know that you have the full support of council, so it's good to just have it reiterated, and we'll have you back to talk about the health of our children.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our workshop for today. We're going to move into agenda review, but I'll give the opportunity for our FP&R and
get back to work.
Folks to get back to work. That's right.
Get back to work.
Please welcome.
Okay, let's move right into the agenda review meeting. Commissioner Sheehan, you are up first today.
Comment first. Public comment.
I'll get one. So, Jose.
Programs on getting the agenda electronically and working with IT on that. And I was able to get my information, but we need to get those ironed out because, again, if I got to vote on something, I have to be able to read it. So I think we got most of it ironed out, but it has been an ongoing problem. And again, if we're not going to have printed out agendas and stuff like that, we need to make sure that the agendas are available electronically. And I'll save the rest of my comments for 2 o'clock. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Hill?
I have nothing. I just would like to say on B7 that I look forward to approving that today. I've had so many calls since I've gotten into office regarding WD Judge Drive, the pavement and the bumps. So I'm glad that we have that on the agenda.
Okay. Commissioner Gray?
No comments on the agenda. I'd like to see Byron if I could, and Lisa if she's still here. Perfect, when we're done. Thank you.
Commissioner Ortiz?
No comments on the agenda either, but I'd like to see Byron also.
Commissioner Stewart?
I'd like to see Byron too. I just couldn't.
Byron, you're very popular today.
Byron, I don't need to see you. I just wanted you to know that. One quick question. I know on C8 we're approving a right-of-way encroachment over on one of the areas in our district. I think it's for a paver driveway. Is that the best I can understand? A retaining wall? Yeah.
Brooke, are you shaking your head yes on that?
Yes. Okay. And so I guess the question really is, in terms of process, how many of these? I haven't seen very many of these coming through in the past. Have we handled them administratively in the past through permitting? And why is this one coming through separate of that? So stop by.
Can you just see Commissioner?
Yeah. I thought that when I went back and studied it, I thought that permitting was handling a lot of that in terms of encroachment agreement and those kind of things. So that's all that I have.